The future of flight didn't just crash in 1937. It burned on camera. Picture it, a silver giant longer than 3 Boeing 747s combined, gliding silently above New Jersey like a floating ocean liner from tomorrow. Inside were private cabins, a dining room with real silverware, promenade windows, and even a pressurized smoking lounge. In 1936 alone, the Hindenburg completed round trips to the United States and Brazil, carrying thousands of passengers in luxury. To millions of people, this did not look like a novelty. It looked like the future. Then, in less than a minute, that future went up in flames. The footage was replayed for years. The radio cry, "Oh, the humanity," became legend. One dramatic disaster did more than destroy a ship. It helped bury an entire technology. But what if that moment never happened? What if the Hindenburg landed safely at Lakehurst on May 6, 1937? Would giant passenger airships have conquered the skies? Or would they have survived just long enough to become something stranger, slower, more beautiful, more exclusive, and perhaps still flying today? May 6, 1937, Lakehurst, New Jersey. Bad weather, a delayed ship, ground crew standing by, cameras rolling. In our timeline, a fire breaks out near the tail during landing, and within seconds the Hindenburg is doomed. 36 people die. Public trust in giant passenger airships collapses with shocking speed. In this timeline, one small thing changes. The weather shifts just enough. The landing goes cleanly. Nothing catches. The Hindenburg drops its mooring lines, settles safely, and passengers step off unharmed. No flames, no global trauma, no iconic disaster footage. And what survives is worth more than the ship itself. Public confidence. Because the Hindenburg was not a one-off stunt. It was the flagship of a real transport system. The Graf Zeppelin had already made hundreds of flights, including ocean crossings, and airships had been carrying paying passengers for years. Without the fiery spectacle, the technology does not get an instant death sentence. Without the disaster, airships still look risky. They are still weather sensitive, still expensive, still complicated, but they no longer look cursed. That distinction matters. The Hindenburg crash was not just fatal, it was visible, filmed, replayed. It became the perfect media catastrophe at exactly the moment modern mass media could turn one accident into a global verdict. Remove that image, and the industry buys itself something precious: time. Investors hesitate less. Governments stay interested longer. Passengers remain curious instead of terrified. And in industrial history, a few extra years can change everything. So for a while, the romance continues. Celebrities and diplomats cross the Atlantic in floating hotels. Advertisements lean hard into the experience. Not speed, not efficiency, experience. The sales pitch is simple. Why squeeze into a noisy metal tube when you can drift above the ocean in comfort? You can stroll the decks, eat a proper meal, watch the sea slide past beneath the clouds, maybe even light a cigar in the ship's smoking lounge. Compared with early long-range airplanes, airships offer something rare: space, silence, spectacle, status. You can almost imagine the posters: cross the Atlantic in style, dine above the clouds, arrive refreshed, not exhausted. Airships do not compete with airplanes on speed, they compete on glamour. And for a few more seasons, glamour is enough. Then the hard truth arrives: airplanes are improving too fast. By the late 1930s, they are already becoming faster, more reliable, and cheaper to operate. Airships remain majestic, but slow, infrastructure heavy, and vulnerable to weather. So the smartest airship companies adapt. They stop trying to become the bus of the skies. And instead, they become the ocean liner of the skies. That changes the whole industry. Now the pitch is not transport. It is luxury travel. Panoramic windows, private suites, elegant dining. A journey where the point is not just to arrive, but to travel beautifully. And that is how technologies sometimes survive. Not by dominating the mass market, but by owning a niche so perfectly that nobody else can replace them. But delaying the end does not cancel it. The first problem is still floating inside the ship. The Hindenburg had originally been designed for helium, the safer, non-flammable lifting gas. But the United States controlled helium production and tightly restricted exports, which is why Germany used hydrogen instead. So even if the Hindenburg lands safely in 1937, the industry is still trapped between two bad options: dangerous hydrogen or difficult to secure helium. The nightmare image disappears. The engineering dilemma does not. And that means one avoided accident cannot erase the deeper weakness. Then comes the larger problem. The crash killed the dream fast, but the airplane was already killing it slowly. Even without Lakehurst, aviation keeps moving. Engines improve, routes expand, airports multiply, flight times drop. Operating economics get better. Airships still need massive hangars, giant crews, specialized handling, and good weather. Romance is powerful, but convenience usually wins in the long run. So the great rigid passenger airship still loses the main future of transport, just more slowly, just more gracefully. And then history delivers the final blow. The Hindenburg was not just a machine, it was also a symbol. It flew with swastikas on its tail and was bound up with Nazi Germany's image of technological prestige. That means even in this alternate timeline, the Hindenburg survives into a world that is still becoming violent. Europe still radicalizes, Germany still militarizes, World War II still arrives, and war is a terrible place to build floating luxury hotels. The Zeppelin works were later destroyed, and the age of giant rigid passenger Zeppelins never truly resumed after the war. So the ship may live, but the grand era still gets shattered by history. So if the Hindenburg had landed safely, would airships have become the future of travel? Not for the masses. Airplanes still win the war of speed, scale, and practicality. But the more interesting answer is this: airships may not have conquered the future, but they might have survived it. Without the traumatic image burned into public memory, airships avoid cultural extinction. Engineers keep experimenting. Materials improve. Navigation improves. Weather forecasting improves. In the post-war world, helium-based designs become far more feasible. And in our real timeline, smaller airships did survive into tourism and niche passenger experiences, while modern projects have explicitly marketed panoramic travel, luxury layouts, and even concepts like a dining room in the sky. So in this alternate world, the evolution becomes believable. By the 1960s and 70s, maybe airships return as exclusive VIP routes over the Mediterranean, the Alps, or the American West. By the 1980s, the richest travelers are booking panoramic cruises above the Arctic, the Sahara, or the Amazon. And today they are not the world's buses. They are the sky's cruise ships. You do not take one because it is the fastest way to arrive. You take one because the journey itself is the point. Glass-walled lounges drifting above Norwegian fjords. Silent sunset crossings over Greenland. 5-day luxury voyages above African savannas. Absurdly expensive. Absurdly exclusive. Absurdly beautiful, and still alive, because one safe landing in New Jersey gave the dream time to evolve instead of dying in flames. So what is the final answer? If the Hindenburg had not crashed, the age of giant passenger airships probably would have lasted longer. It would have looked safer, more glamorous, more commercially viable, at least for a while. But it still probably would not have defeated the airplane. What it might have done is something more surprising. It might have saved airships from extinction, long enough for them to become one of the strangest luxury industries in the modern world. Not the future of flight for everyone, but the most beautiful way for a few people to move slowly through the sky. So, what do you think? If the Hindenburg had never crashed, would airships have become a lasting symbol of luxury sky travel, the cruise ships of the clouds? Or would airplanes in World War have crushed the dream anyway? Drop your answer below, and tell me which what if we should explore next.